science is about to change your life. I am Stephen Hawking, and I'd like to give you a glimpse of your future.
Wow!
In this series, 5 top scientists will investigate game-changing innovations.
This is pretty mind-blowing.
The shockwaves of progress are heading your way. We'll show you how you'll be safer, play harder, connect faster, live longer, see further, and get smarter. With the technology at our disposal, the possibilities are unlimited. So welcome to the science of the future. "100 years ago, 1 in 10 people lived in an urban area. By 2050, this will increase to 7 out of 10. No one really knows what the future holds, but the reality is that our urban spaces are already overcrowded and polluted. Now, our 5 scientists look into how technology is being used to design smarter city environments in the hope that we can sustain our ever-growing population. Meeting the future energy needs of our expanding cities is one of the biggest challenges facing mankind. Fossil fuels are dirty. Renewables are unreliable. Nuclear power is controversial. But is there an alternative? The answer may be revealed in France, where 34,000 runners are warming up for the Paris Marathon. They don't know it, but they're about to take part in a scientific experiment. Its outcome could herald a new age in energy production. Jim Al-Khalili is there to follow it every step of the way.
65 feet under the streets of Paris is the world's largest subway station, Châtelet-Les Halles.
750,000 people come through this station every day, between them expending a huge amount of energy. Nothing.
It all seems such a waste. What if we could harness all this human activity and somehow turn it into electricity? That's precisely what this team of British engineers is doing. They're turning the pavement into a power station. This cutting-edge technology is the brainchild of engineer Lawrence Kemble Cook.
Now, tell me the basic idea behind it, Lawrence. What is actually going on?
Well, so the pavement technology converts the weight of your footsteps into electricity. So every time you stand or walk or jump on a tile, it converts just a small amount of your kinetic energy into electrical power.
Pressure from a footstep depresses a flexible plate, causing a neodymium magnet to move inside fixed copper coils. This produces a current that can be stored. What's clever is that unlike a dynamo, there are no mechanical moving parts to break down. Each step generates about 10 joules of energy. That would light a 10-watt light bulb for just a second. But Kemble Cook claims many steps can make lots of energy.
How many of these do you need for it to really become viable?
So for us, it's all about scale, okay? So one product in your kitchen, that will not give you any power in a meaningful way. Now, when you have 50,000 people per hour moving through a busy transport site, that's 50,000 pieces of small energy. Now, when you combine that together, it actually becomes tangible and can be used to charge batteries, can go into lighting, and really any low energy application can be connected up to that power feed that's coming out of the product.
The tiles will soon be given a massive real-time test. They're being installed across the Champs-Élysées, 600 feet from the marathon's finishing line.
This is the biggest installation we've ever done. There's 178 tiles in the ground. I'm excited to see how much energy is going to come out of it. I'm excited to see how much are people really going to trample over it, and where the hot spot's going to be where people start moving over.
People power. It's an ingenious idea, There's an endless supply, and it's all around us. I can imagine it illuminating street lamps across an entire city. But as the marathon approaches, I'm beginning to have doubts.
I've been doing the sums, and any way I look at it, it just doesn't seem to add up. Each footstep on one of these pads produces 10 joules of energy. But to light the street lamps of Paris for a single night requires 1 trillion joules of energy. That's 100 billion footsteps.
I can understand Jim's reservations. This technology could never produce electricity on a scale to compete with fossil fuels or nuclear energy. But it has the potential to radically change the way we source power in the future.
The marathon begins. Over the next few hours, the tiles will be given a battering when 33,000 runners cross the finishing line. But how much energy will they produce? They have been tested before in shopping centres, schools, and at festivals. But never on this scale. When the front runners approach the finish, the energy generated is measured. It's a nervous moment for Lawrence.
The runners are still streaming through and all running over your tiles. How much energy has been produced here?
So in the past hour, as they've been running over tiles, we produced 90,000 joules, which is enough to power a normal street light for just under 2 hours.
As the last stragglers cross the line, the final count is in. 1,500 square feet have generated 4.7 kilowatt hours of electricity, enough to charge nearly 2,000 cell phones, drive an electric car 15 miles, or power 50 LED street lamps.
And where do you go from here?
So next is scale. Next is taking it to many sites across our cities, for our infrastructure, for our transport, for our all new buildings.
Subways, airports, railway stations. In spaces like these, you begin to appreciate the power-generating potential of human activity.
So this is a classic example where paving really works. We're Charles de Gaulle Metro, with thousands of people coming off every hour. So in platforms and in the busy corridors is where we want to see the product going.
Now, of course, if we do the sums, each individual tile only produces a tiny amount of energy. So what sort of scale are you talking about?
Now, we're not saying we're going to power the whole station, but this is a free source of power that is readily available where we need it to go into the local power grid.
Thousands of people use this station every day. They could generate more than 500 kilowatt hours in a week. That's enough to power over 10 average-sized homes for a day. Energy tiles are already in production and will be installed in several train stations within a year. Hundreds of millions of us all over the world could soon be producing electricity just by walking.
In the future, powering our cities is going to take a combination of technology, ingenuity, and imagination. Part of the solution may well be people power.
Harvesting electricity from human activity is the ultimate renewable energy. But providing the supplies people need is as great a problem for the cities of the future. By 2050, the population of the world could be approaching 10 billion. Just imagine the lines at the supermarket. Shopping will have to become faster and more efficient. Can robots save the day? By 2025, there will be about 30 megacities, each with more than 10 million inhabitants. With all those people clamoring for goods and services, can technology help us keep pace with our craving for instant commerce? In Boston, a robot workforce is being built to meet our consumer demands. Chris Elias-Smith is about to test the theory that anything humans do, robots do better.
Grocery shopping is a drag. But could a robot do it any faster?
So here's a simple test. I'm going to find, say, a dozen items and check out. We'll see how long it takes.
The average shopper spends about 2.5 hours each week buying groceries. Over the course of a year, That adds up to over 15 full-time days of shopping. And in the modern world, that's a waste of precious time.
Cashews. Here we go. Ice cream, ice cream, ice cream, ice cream. There we go. Let's see how we did. 18 minutes. That's a long time. That's over 1.5 minutes per item. But what if we could get rid of all of this with just the push of a button? That would be something.
Kiva Systems may have the answer. They are designing, building, and training an army of workers to shop for you. Robots. Hundreds of them. Mick Mounts is their inventor, and the company's CEO.
10, 12 years ago now, I was working in e-commerce as a grocery home delivery project in the Bay Area. And we could not find a way to economically pick, pack, and ship eaches. That is to get like 1 can of soup, 1 thing of toothpaste in a tote for a home delivery order. So we invented this.
Traditionally, goods are moved around a distribution center using conveyors or forklifts. With Kiva's approach, items are kept on portable storage units. When an order arrives, a robot is dispatched to fetch it.
So I could say, why don't we move all of those robots out here onto the highway? And so now they've each been given a mission to come from wherever they are and line themselves up on the highway.
I've always wanted to command my own robot army. Here we go. Release the hounds. They're going the wrong place. It's my fault. I'm not very good at commanding a robot army. So there's like 4 of them moving at the same time. How do they not run into each other?
So the way it happens is each robot is on a wireless network having a conversation with the host. And the way they travel is by using the sticker system that we put down. And the host is handing out missions, and he's asking them to travel on certain stickers at certain times. Okay. You can think of it as maybe an air traffic control system.
Each sticker is a unique 2D barcode that identifies its location in the highway, like a grid reference. The central computer feeds data to each of the robots in the hive, updating them as new orders come in. That means the route of every one of up to 500 robots placed in the shop floor is constantly changing to avoid collision. When they're in full flow, it's like watching a robotic ant colony.
So these guys are kind of cute. What makes this thing tick is the question. Pull this guy out.
So we have 2 motors that are driving the vehicle forward and a 3rd motor that'll actually be used to rotate the lifting plate that's on top. And so we did that with the corkscrew.
Yeah, it's an ingenious design.
This particular version of the robot is designed to pick up a 3,000-pound payload. And then you have a lot of computer power on board that's doing all of the coordination. There's a Wi-Fi radio talking to the host, talking to the camera so it can see the floor and see the loads that it's picking up. You'll see we're wired up with lots of different sensors and lights and indicators.
Wow, look at that. It's got more eyes than a spider.
Robots like these will definitely speed up the online retail process. But to really revolutionize shopping, they need to be fast enough to allow same-day delivery on every order.
It's time to put the robots to the test. Just how fast can they put an order together and get it to my door?
You absolutely have to have in your grocery cart today.
Well, the first thing is obviously chunky fudge ice cream.
So some ice cream.
That's right.
We'll get one of those.
Okay.
And so what we're going to do now is set up the order on the table here by attaching it to this pick spot. And you'll notice the robots are
spinning
already
around
in action.
Nice.
Fetching those pods that have those items of inventory that you ordered.
Yep, on their way.
This is a brand new concept in order fulfillment. It's the notion of real time. We don't need to...
So this is like all 5 things coming at once here, right?
Yeah, so it's probably 5 pods, unless 2 of the items happen to be on the same pod. You might get 4 pods to get some of the work done. And that, again, that's part of our software algorithms, which is if we can find a pod that has 2 or 3 of the things that you ordered, we'll use that pod, and that shortens the robot workload.
First one's here already, right?
Literally 30 seconds from the time you submit order on the web, that inventory can be in a station and a human can be picking it.
Excellent. The future. Go to work in the morning, surf the internet, make an order, waiting for you when you get home.
Amazon, the world's largest online retailer, has bought Kiva for a whopping $800 million. By 2023, it's forecast that online shopping will rise to over 1/4 of all retail, driven largely by the appeal of super-fast delivery.
Opportunities for interacting with the world without having to be physically present are increasing rapidly. As you can imagine, I find that appealing. Not least because city life for all of us is so busy. How many times have you wished you had a double that could share your workload? Creating realistic digital surrogates of ourselves is an ambitious dream, but the latest technology suggests that it may not be as far-fetched an idea as it sounds. When I was younger, the rise of technology pointed to a future where we would all enjoy more leisure time. But in fact, the more we can do, the busier we become. Our cities are already full of machines that extend our capabilities, but what if we could be in 2 places at once? Now, Daniel Kraft is investigating how we can replicate ourselves visually. The question is, how convincing can an avatar be?
In Japan, robotics scientist Hiroshi Ishiguro has created a body double robot that he hopes one day will be able to teach for him, doubling his classes. The robot's pretty realistic, but it suffers from what robot people call the uncanny divide. It's almost convincing, but something's missing. I'm heading to the other side of the planet, to Los Angeles, where the entertainment world is inspiring what may be a better solution.
Here at the Institute of Creative Technologies at the University of Southern California, a team of scientists figures if we really want to replicate ourselves, maybe robots aren't the way to go. They're working on the ultimate way of replicating us through digital means called photorealism.
The team here have been researching the science of how light reflects off skin. Using cutting-edge new digitizing and rendering techniques, convincing virtual people.
Good morning.
One of a number of projects being led by Paul DeBevic.
Let's go get digitized. So, Paul, what happens here?
Well, we are in the graphics laboratory at the USC Institute for Creative Technologies, and this is the room where we use our light stage device to try to take real people, digitize them into the virtual world, and create virtual characters that look just like them. And this is a pretty challenging problem to get it down to the level of every skin pore, every crease, the accurate translucency of the skin, and also the dynamics of the face as it changes from expression to expression.
So we've had digital photography for a while. We've been able to capture people's expressions. What is it that you need to do with this system that's different?
Well, a digital photograph is a flat, two-dimensional image from a specific viewpoint in fixed lighting and just one facial expression. We need to record a digital model of people that can be seen from any viewpoint in any lighting and any facial expression. And we built this light stage device to be able to do that.
Wow. So it kind of feels like I'm in a field of stars.
You are surrounded by about 6,000 LEDs right now. We have, for this configuration, 7 high-resolution sports photography cameras aimed right at you.
The key breakthrough is understanding that light doesn't just reflect off the surface of the skin. Some penetrates into the epidermis, depending on the light's intensity and the tone of the skin. The dome is programmed to light the subject from every direction, with a range of different color temperatures. This is just the basics. Skin behaves differently when it's stretched, and Paul's system takes this into account.
What do I do next?
Well, we're going to ask you to go through a series of facial expressions. Each one you're going to need to hold for about 2 seconds. When that happens, the cameras are going to start clicking and taking about 16 photos in those 2 seconds. And the lights are going to go to our special lighting conditions that'll record the shine of your skin, the subsurface scattering of the skin, and how light plays off of you from all the different directions. And that's what we'll use to reconstruct your face in 3D.
Terrific. Let's do it. I have to say it's a bit disconcerting that my face is about to be examined so mathematically.
Daniel, we're going to do our first expression. What we usually start with is neutral, eyes closed.
Okay, I've got lots of practice on this one, so eyes closed. Here we go.
With that, we can go on to the next one. Neutral, eyes open. Okay, cool. Would you like to do one of your signature pose? Something uniquely you that we can capture.
My inquisitive look.
All right, now have a seat over here, and let's take a look at what we just shot in the light stage. Here's your neutral eyes closed expression, and you can see that you're lit different ways.
So it's the different flashes as they went off of capturing the different sides.
Basically. And this is recording how the light plays off of your face. And then we have the kind of interesting quizzical as well. So this image of that first surface reflection off of your skin, none of this light's scattered around. So it's a perfectly sharp image of your skin surface. You can see incredible amounts of detail. And this final level of detail is going to get embossed onto your three-dimensional model. So the digital version of you will have every bit of this detail as well.
So now we get to see 3D me?
Absolutely. While we've been having fun looking at images, our technical artist has been processing your data into the final 3D model, and I think it's just about ready.
The 3D model is a scan that provides just the shape and contours of my face. The challenge now is to precisely combine this with all the visual data. A little nervous about how this is gonna...
Oh, this is our three-dimensional model. What you can see is that your face has been reconstructed as a three-dimensional mesh.
So none of this is for the photo, this is the actual reconstruction.
Yeah, and then if we put the photographic information on top, we have a rendering of you with your skin color and with the shine of your skin, and in this test lighting environment, which is different than what any of the actual lighting conditions were that we photographed in the light stage.
It's pretty trippy. I mean, this is not a photo, this is a reconstructed me. What did you do to me here?
Oh, I took all the data that we captured, and then I was able to reconstruct your face up to 1/10 of a millimeter accuracy to have the wrinkles and the buckles and such that we usually capture people's faces to make them look hyper real.
Wow, 1/10 of a millimeter, that's almost too tight.
That's absolutely crucial for creating a realistic digital character that you can believe in its motion and the emotions that it's trying to communicate.
The result is quite extraordinary. But to make a truly convincing avatar, one that avoids the uncanny divide, natural movement is essential. Paul has been experimenting with a fully realized character based on his researcher, Ari Shapiro.
I have people around the world contacting me saying, is this you? It sounds like you, it looks like you. Did you go bald? What happened? But people who know me have identified me through this doppelganger.
We started with the light stage process, so you were just in there. We had Ari in there for about a half an hour, and for him we got 30 different facial expressions. You can see a number of them here. And then we went further and we corresponded them all to each other, which makes it possible to morph between the different facial expressions. You can see that as he goes from expression to expression, the shapes change and all of the skin textures change. You get the creases and the wrinkling and all of the parts of the performance that you want to come through. Now this visualization here, which is very colorful on his face, is showing a facial animation technique where as Ari's face moves according to the video, it's detecting which facial expression he's making on each part of his face every single frame. And he can make different expressions with different parts of his face, so we can mix and match different things beyond what we scanned. This last clip here is Digital Ira actually saying a line of dialogue. Lip sync is, this is from the first version, so lip sync isn't quite perfect here, but you can get a little bit of a sense of Digital Ira's character.
I ordered a yogurt parfait, and the whole parfait was fruit, frozen fruit. There was no yogurt. It's supposed to be half fruit and half yogurt, but the whole thing is frozen fruit.
Not the best dialogue, perhaps, but improvements are being made all the time. The face you're about to see reveals just how convincing a digital avatar can be. She's not real. Her face is completely digital.
We specialize in high-quality facial animation for video game films.
The next stage of development is to scale the process up. With this setup, the digital actor can be made to move at the touch of a button.
You've seen Light Stage X, which is what we use for scanning people's faces. If we go down this way, I'll be able to show you Light Stage 6.
Light stage 6. This is massive.
It's 8 meters in diameter and designed to light the entire human body. It has 931 lights on the dome, 180 on the ground. Each one has 6 LEDs, and it surrounds you with 6,666 points of light.
It's large enough that we have a nice 2-meter sweet spot, so we can get even light all across the entire body. It can also flash at very fast speeds, so we can film with high-speed cameras and film people from multiple lighting directions.
This is not motion capture.
Motion capture only captures sparse points on the body, whereas we're trying to capture the entire body, every point on the skin, and whatever clothes the person happens to be wearing. You can change the camera, place it anywhere around them, have the cinematographers and directors use the light stage to pretty much change everything about a performance.
Where in your wildest dreams do you see this heading?
Where this gets really exciting is when we hook up these very realistic digital representations of people to artificial intelligence algorithms. Those are going to be creating much better digital teachers, mentors, colleagues, and actors that can give them minds that will make them say things and do things that nobody ever explicitly programmed them to do. I think we should be able to have some interesting results in the next 10 to 15 years.
This is really tremendous and exciting, and is already and will be changing the world. So come to think about it, a digital version of me could be really, really useful. So much of what we do today happens in the virtual world. Having a digital Daniel could let me communicate in new ways. And now that we're coming out of this uncanny valley, you can count me in.
Interactive tutors could prove useful for massive open online courses, or MOOCs. And for entertainment, it could be really exciting. Digital actors that would be forever young, unable to perform otherwise impossible feats. Our future idols might not even be real. How we connect with the digital world is key to the progress we'll make in the future. In the smartest cities, the smartest homes will be equipped with devices that are so intuitive, they'll be almost effortless to interact with. When the typewriter was invented, it liberated the way we interact with machines. Nearly 150 years later, and touchscreens have unlocked new ways to communicate with the digital world. But even these are limited. Can we improve the way we interact with the physical world, and realize the smart homes and offices that we've been promised for years? In Pittsburgh, researchers at Carnegie Mellon University are taking interactive technology to a new level. Caring about inventions that will make current interfaces seem primitive.
This must be the place. Hey, Robert.
Hey.
What have you got here?
Okay, so this is basically a project to expand multi-touch interaction beyond simply poke here, poke here, right? What we've made is basically a way for the touchscreen to recognize different parts of your hand. So you can tap it with your pad like most people do.
Yeah, just the normal, traditional way.
Now try it with your knuckle.
Ah!
And you can also tap it with your nail.
So how does this work?
What we've done is basically added a third dimension to the touch, which is the acoustic signature. So hear this. These all sound very different. And so we use that to basically figure out what you must have been doing.
A sensor attached to the screen can detect different types of vibration, which can then be used to activate different functions.
We've gone from sort of being able to use one finger in one way to being able to use your finger in 3 different ways. That's a tripling of your input dimensions, and it represents a huge step forward. But we're also working on ways to use your whole hand as an input. So let me bring this over here. This is another project we're working on. Imagine holding something, like this whiteboard eraser, with your hand. So just hold it like that, and there you go.
Oh, wow. And the actual whiteboard eraser shows up on the screen. And I'm using all of my fingers for that.
The screen detects combinations of touch points to make interactions almost as natural as using real tools. But researchers here have gone even further. They're transforming the way we interact by doing away with screens altogether. The WorldKit project can turn any surface into a digital interface.
Oh. Chris.
Hello, welcome.
Hello, thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, I got your note.
Yeah,
What we've done here is actually turn the wall into a touchscreen so I can set the notification.
Walls into touchscreens? That's crazy. How can you make a wall touch sensitive?
This is WorldKit, and what we have here is a projector and a special camera called a depth camera. So it doesn't see color, it actually sees depth. So for every pixel, instead of seeing if it's red or blue, it instead says it's 2 or 3 meters away.
Oh, wow.
And what we have, just to get into a bit more details, is here we have an infrared emitter. It's emitting a pattern. And then we have an infrared camera that looks at that pattern. That's how it actually figures out what's 3D or not. So what it can do with the combination of the projector and the camera is actually make touch-sensitive surfaces everywhere in the world. Tables and doors and walls. Everything can become a touchscreen.
Like you had outside your door.
Exactly.
The depth camera differentiates between objects according to how far away they are from the background.
Okay, so what do we do here?
To create a sensor, the system is programmed to register when and where a moving object reaches the background.
Just pretend that your hand is like a paintbrush and draw the sensor onto the door.
Okay.
Now, where would you want your status messages to appear?
Okay.
Exactly. If you step in front of the doorway,
there they are.
Yep. So you can say you're busy.
As I touch the wall, a patch turns blue, which means the depth camera has recognized a touch event. The system then calculates which button I've pressed, and the projector illuminates it.
And that's only really one very small, kind of simple example of the type of applications you could build onto the world.
What's impressive is how this technology will transform our daily lives. We'll have the digital world at our fingertips wherever we are, office, school, or home.
What we have here is WorldKit actually running on my kitchen counter. And it's a recipe helper. So here we have all the instructions for making banana bread, and here's all the things that a banana bread requires, like sugar, bananas, and eggs, and so on. And so what you can do is you can take that half cup of water.
So I'm gonna basically just put it where it tells me to.
And it's gonna make sure that you've added that ingredient.
Ah, it turned green as soon as I put it on.
Exactly.
Excellent.
And there's a half cup of flour.
Okay, next comes the sugar, quarter cup.
And here, the banana. It says one banana and needs 2 eggs.
Okay, so first of all, is it gonna change to just 1?
The system even tells me if my quantities are wrong. I'm an egg short.
Now we can just double check what our next step is. So it says we need to mix this all together and put it in for 25 minutes. So let's do that.
Alrighty.
Labor-saving technology like this means we'll have more time to relax. 25 minutes, in fact.
So let me show you one thing here that's going to be in the living room. So I can actually just paint interfaces again right onto this ordinary coffee table. And I can change the orientation of these interfaces too. So now you can add a volume control right onto the arm of the chair.
Okay.
Yep, just like that. I'll add another interactor right here, so it's nice and convenient. And now, boom, we have an interface that lets us control our television. So if you sit down, you can be in the...
Okay. Oh my goodness, this is so interesting. All right, so first things first, I'm gonna hit play. And up it comes.
There we go.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so say we've seen already this part. I'm gonna scroll ahead.
Mm-hmm.
It's ridiculous that I'm just touching the table and this is happening. Now, okay, volume. I mean, this is gonna be the ultimate lazy man's tool, isn't it? I'll be putting on 20 pounds by having this technology in my home. What other areas of the house do you figure this will be very useful for?
If you think about making every surface in your house touch sensitive like we did with this chair or the table, now you can do it to the wall or your kitchen counter, whatever, you can start to think about really powerful computing experiences just being ubiquitous. It's like air or like light.
Eventually, we'll be freed completely from keyboards and screens. Our technology will be everywhere, on tap 24/7.
The first step is miniaturization. And so what we've actually been doing is trying to make smaller and smaller versions. So this is actually basically a light bulb. And what we have here is a projector and a depth camera. It's the same technologies as before, but now in a much smaller package. And instead of just projecting light, you'll actually have projected touch interfaces everywhere that your lights are. So in maybe 10 or 15 years, you'll be able to just screw these into light fixtures in the same way that light bulbs became ubiquitous about 100 years ago. Soon we'll have touch interfaces that are ubiquitous as well.
Chris hopes they'll be in widespread use by 2025.
Thanks to visionaries like Chris, in the near future, we'll all be interacting with our technology, whenever, wherever, and however we want. A new digital era has begun.
New York is one of my favorite cities, famed for its glittering skyline. 8 million people live here. But while they're out having fun, unwanted guests also come out to play. 32 million rats. The city has been trapping these destructive and disease-carrying rodents for years, but so far, all their efforts have failed to control the infestation. Now scientists are attempting to eradicate the problem without killing a single rat. RT press artists in the Big Apple to investigate this extraordinary idea.
It really is phenomenal how at night the rats in the city just come alive. After being here a short time, I've seen dozens of them. They drink from that puddle of water, and there are trash bags along the wall that they are literally inside of, getting food out of. And this place is crawling with them.
Even poison doesn't seem to be working.
They're just running out literally in front of me. It's like they're so used to living with humans in this city. Where humans are, the food is.
The city's administrator's new approach is funded by the National Institutes of Health to the tune of $1.1 million. Scientists are going to attempt a radical, new experiment to control rat fertility. It's taking place deep in the subway where the problem is most prevalent. Dr. Loretta Mayer is leading the project.
You know, whenever a train comes through, the smell of these decomposing rats is really, really, really awful. Do you think they've been killed by poison?
Yes, they have. Poison is really not sustainable because we've been poisoning for decades, and we still have rats.
Loretta is convinced killing them doesn't work because of one crucial thing she's observed about rat behavior.
Families, just like in our neighborhoods, will keep other families from moving into their flat. If you were to kill all of the rats, including the family, other rats would migrate in. And in fact, sometimes you'll have more than you started with.
So you're not getting rid of the problem?
You're not solving the problem. The problem is reproduction.
But how do you control a rat's fertility? Like many great ideas, Loretta's eureka moment came from an unexpected source. About 20 years ago, she was studying rodents and noticed by chance that women working in a plastics factory were suffering reproductive problems. They had been exposed to high levels of a chemical called vinyl cyclohexene dioxide, or VCD.
I was looking desperately for a compound that would naturally accelerate the loss of eggs in the ovary.
She wondered if VCD could have this effect in rats and began tests.
If Loretta's hypothesis is correct, it could have global consequences. Rats reach sexual maturity in 8 to 12 weeks and can have 6 litters a year if not more. Just one sexually active female could give rise to a staggering 1 3/4 million descendants in just 9 months. But can a drug that thwarts human reproduction successfully control the fertility of rats? Trials in New York's subway system will give us the answer. The quest to manage New York City's rat problem is being tackled by Dr. Loretta Mayer. She's discovered that a chemical called vinyl cyclohexene dioxide, or VCD, can slow down follicle growth in ovaries. Her idea is to use it to stop rats breeding so fast, but to do so without killing any of them. Trials are taking place in the city's subways, but will the rats take her bait?
If ingested, the effect resembles the menopausal transition in women and greatly reduces the reproductive lifespan of the rat. In the trial, doses of the VCD chemical, too small to affect humans, are added to nutritious food, which hopefully the female rats will eat.
Loretta, are you going to try this experiment out? You're going to actually try your system out on real rats in New York?
Absolutely. We're going to begin looking first at their behavior and their habits. We're going to be looking at their populations, making some estimates. Of course, offer them our different nutrients to see what they like the best, and then ultimately see how effective our concept will be at reducing the number of rats.
Loretta is able to monitor the uptake of the compound because the whiskers of rats that have eaten her chemical glow green in UV light. The field test is up and running and will take 6 months to complete. In the meantime, I've got an appointment with a rat catcher. I want to be able to compare Loretta's results with more traditional methods.
After you.
Ah, it really stinks, Rudy. What is that smell?
It's just rat urine, rat droppings. It tells me these rats have been here for a long time. The traps, rats will learn what the traps are.
Right.
You'll catch some, but then the rest will realize that device is not good.
When traps don't work, Rudy resorts to poison. But the poison isn't working either.
This is the ideal situation for them. And they have a food source right next door. We have groceries right next door, dumpsters out back. Poison versus a fresh melon or a grapefruit or something is gonna lose.
Over a 3-month period, Rudy would have laid down numerous traps and hundreds of pounds of poison, without any noticeable effect on the rat population. Every year across the US, millions of pounds of rat poison are used, and over 10,000 children are exposed to it. 90% of poisonings happen in people's homes.
What's really clear is that the poisons just aren't working. They're not controlling the rats. What we need is a smarter solution, and that's what Loretta's working on.
After 3 months, the first results are in. 67% of female rats in the test area ingested the compound. The impact could be astonishing. On that percentage of take-up, a rat population of about 15 million would reduce to 15,000 in just 8 months.
Do you think this is a strategy you can use with other animals in other countries to control populations of animals that are also a menace to people?
Yes, anywhere humans and animals collide. The idea of fertility control, controlling their reproduction, targets the heart of the problem.
You're not shooting them, you're not poisoning them.
You are humanely reducing their populations and allowing us to coexist in a much better world.
By 2015, Loretta will have similar projects running in Chicago. It may be controversial to manage another species' reproduction, but the success of Loretta's compound has far-reaching implications. Not just for our cities, but for agriculture. In Indonesia alone, rats and other rodents cause the loss of enough rice to feed over 30 million people per year. With cities continuing to expand, many of us will be living closer to each other. We will demand better services, better communication, more purchase power, and radical new entertainment. And as we've seen, science can always give us more than we ever dreamed possible. Thank you for watching.